Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this one of the final session of this conference, in which we will speak about the use of Inspire for transport. I am Maria Teresa Borzacchiello from the Joint Research Center, and our speakers are a nice mix from private and public sector. Let's start with the first speaker, Christian Kleine from here, Germany. Please, Christian.
Oh, I need this already. So, Maria Teresa, thank you for introduction, and good to see that there are still some people at Friday afternoon. Yeah, but it's okay. Where can I find the presentations? Okay.
I think we opened it already.
It's already opened, yeah. So, yeah, my name is Christian Kleine. I'm working at HERE since 2004, and my position is data acquisition. So I look for open data from authorities in general, and especially from road authorities, but also commercial data, which is available and can be used for our products. I'm based in Germany, but not in Berlin, in the big office. It's in Essen. It's a small office in the Ruhr region near Düsseldorf. And I think you know HERE already. So we are one of the biggest, or one of the biggest companies in navigation systems, and I lost. In navigation system, mostly in automotive and embedded cars, but we are also seeing some new trends, like mega cities. You know all these words: artificial intelligence. We will see drones in the coming years. We will see population is estimated to be 9.5 billion by 2025. So a lot of things which are coming up, and a lot of trends we are seeing. But all this has one thing common. There's location inside of this. So everything needs a location or has a location. Also, what we are seeing is that we will have a lot of connected devices, a lot of generated data, which mostly will have a location, and everything of this is hidden in data silos. So all the systems at the moment are not talking to each other, and we have a lot of data out there which is not really analyzed and used. So on the other hand, or on the data handling side, we see a big change from silos to platforms. So in the old reality, we had data stores somewhere, some servers standing somewhere, which are not talking to each other, static deliveries, and a lot of manual compilation. Now we are transforming to cloud computing. I assume everybody knows all of this as fresh data deliveries, on-demand delivery on data. And in the future, we will have neural platforms which will talk to each other. So you can see there's really a trend going to artificial intelligence and a new kind of data handling and data as well. So how we will solve this, or how we here will try to solve this. So we are building the open location platform with sensors going inside, serving a lot of our data is going inside, will be there computed and analyzed by algorithm to build or to serve a lot of industries. It's not only automotive anymore, so it's, as I said before, drones. We will see in the next years coming a necessity for maps for drones, 3D maps, and also retail services and so on. But for all this, we need this, this here reality index. So this is basically the foundation. It's the core map, which is not only a navigation map anymore. It's more a real picture of the world or a model of the world in 3D. But for this reality index, we are needing a lot of data. So we are using our own data, our own field drives, user data, sensor data, but also we are using a lot of public data sources, which mostly of them are Inspire-related data. So, for example, we are putting point addresses coming from the authorities, transport networks, points of interest, mostly governmental points of interest like schools, governmental buildings, and so on. 3D city models, which are a lot of 3D city models are already available. And when it comes to transport, road signs. And about road signs, I will give you now a short example where we have already a good process established on getting road signs directly from road authorities. This is TNITS. I think Stefan will talk more in detail about this later. And so I just show it from our side what we are doing with this. So it's all about getting road signs changes directly from road authorities, which means for example, speed limits, direction of travel, truck restrictions, naming, road geometry. So the idea is to get these directly from the road authorities instead of searching long which is a big task to get or to have the data still fresh and actual. So the idea behind this is this can be a good source because they know they should know where they build their signs. And we have this in a standardized process flow with already 3 countries, which is good established with Sweden, Norway, and Finland, where we are getting a steady flow over an interface of changes from them, daily updated. And this process is standardized so that we can use this process also for new members, which is really a benefit for us and for both for new data users to set up this process. So what we got since this project is running, it's since 2015, and I think the numbers are really impressionable. So we got nearly 520,000 updates over these interfaces, a lot of speed limits, but also a lot of truck restrictions. And this data is going directly or is available directly on a weekly basis for end users, so for truck navigation systems, for car navigation, and so on. So to getting these changes is also increasing safety and gives the end user a better experience in using the navigation systems. What are our main benefits? So we have a continuous flow of data, which is clear. A standardized process, so we really knew once we have set up one country, we really knew how to set up the others. We are getting, which is also really important, incremental changes. So not only a big data set, which we have to compilate again and to evaluate to find out the changes. So that's good. So we have not to really to search for where those changes are happening, and which is also really important is freshness of data. So when we are getting daily updates, we can also serve the users on a daily basis. At the moment, we are just having weekly updates, but we are working to get this process also on a daily basis, so that the user can have a daily updated database. So, yeah, what is this more or less a conclusion out of this? So, all Inspire or Inspire-related data, open data, is for us an important source. So, but it's not the, as I've said before, not the only source. It's enriching our data. Important is in this in this context is that the data quality and freshness. So we can only use the data really good when the data is fresh and the quality is high. For example, I've recently seen a data portal with open data addresses, which were updated last in 2015. So this makes no sense for us to get or to use this data. So then another thing is harmonization of Geo Portlets. It's sometimes really hard to find good data sets, also data sets which are available. So you cannot find it over a search engine. Or the search engines of the Geo Portals are giving you hundreds of results, and then you have to click through everything and to see which is suitable or not. Then, as I said before, standardization is really key, so that a data user can really make easy use of the data. And data at big scale. For us as a big company or a worldwide active company, for example, does not make sense integrate data only from one small municipality. So it would be also always good to have countrywide databases and not only these fragmented databases, which are sometimes, for example, in Germany where we have this federal stage, it's very heterogeneous, and so this would make more sense to have this. Then, updates. It's related to quality and freshness. And last but not least, always and still a topic is licensing. So I think sometimes every authority or every entity, they are doing their own license. And sometimes they're excluding commercial use or sub-licensing, and then it does not make sense for us, or we cannot use the data. And here it would be good to have a real clear statement of open data or open data licenses. Yeah, that's all from my side. Any questions? Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you very much, Christian. There is a question already there, another there. So,
you've talked quite a lot about the benefits to the data user. What about the benefit? Are there any benefits that you able to describe for the data originator or the data provider to you?
Yeah. For example, when it comes to truck navigation systems, when we get fresh data from the authorities, then, for example, or let's say like this, when you have an accident with a truck, is driving in a bridge, and he has no information about it. But when you have a good system, which can help the driver to find a way around, or where the driver was not getting into this, then the municipality or the community has a benefit in that this accident did not happen, for example. So.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
I will give the talk later and maybe I will point to that. But One comment is that in this standardized exchange infrastructure, there is a back loop foreseen.
Okay.
The idea that when the data users, the map makers, just as here or TomTom, collect the data, they decode it, they decode the location reference, and when something turns out to be wrong or not correct, for example in the location decoding, they can feed this back to the provider of the data. So that might give an indication like, well, this road is missing, or the topology of the road is incorrect or something like that. So there's a direct feedback possible. In the pilots it has been implemented, but it's not really on the top of the list of those who are implementing the pilots for the moment.
Yeah, but generally speaking, my point was more, thank you, Stefan, my point was more to say that when we make a service out of the data, you also have a social benefit from it. So, for example, also...
I understand what you're saying. I just... Public authorities spend a lot of money collecting this data and having this data in a form and putting it into a form where it's made available.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's the return on investment somewhere, and I'm not quite sure where that return
Yeah,
on investment
I
is.
think it's hard to measure, but...
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks. There is another question there from Hugo.
Thank you. I would like to pick up on two issues that you mentioned. On the one thing, the social benefits, and on the other thing is then the title of your presentation, Mobility of the Future. And when I look at all the different sources of input, I didn't see people. And people, of course, are going to be the beneficiaries of all that. You talked about the business, the public-private partnership with the providers and so on. But the people are ultimately going to be the beneficiaries thanks to the improvement also to their environment, resolving a lot of mobility issues through the intelligent transport system. Now, if we think about people as sensors and customers, and I think about applications like Waze, for example, but I also think about applications like Uber, and I even think about applications like Tinder, maybe not known to everybody, right? I see there a perfect ecosystem growing, where I would be standing on the side of the road with my mobile phone, who knows everything about me, this platform. It even has my fingerprint and my iris scan. And I want to go from where I'm standing to take the train somewhere else. And another person is driving in his car, equipped with here, he has his destination mapped out. And I have my destination mapped out here. And your intelligent transport system will, so that's the Waze part, now comes the Uber part and the Tinder part. It will identify me as a very suitable match for the car to be picked up on the road, hop into the car, and of course the driver knows everything about me, how I look maybe even, and take me to the station. And by stepping in, the Uber part, automatically the driver will get 50 euro cents because he's only carrying me a few blocks. That, for us in the environmental policy, is what we want to develop under the sharing economy. So we are going to optimize these 12 square meters of car which are on the road now transporting one person, trying to fill it up to the maximum. And your intelligent transport system could help enormously in doing that, but then we must integrate the people also into your system.
Okay.
So is that possible?
I have no answer. What we are already doing is we are using user data for traffic, for real-time traffic, to see where's the jam, and yeah, you're right. There's
sharing economy.
Yeah, can be a lot more, but
So maybe part of the answer is if the data that is exposed by governments and road authorities is open, there will be third parties that can aggregate all the services and take components from here, for navigation or traffic, take components from public data and aggregate it with those services. Maybe have include Uber or other services. So it's going to happen anyway. If the data is exposed and the services are exposed and usable.
But that's an interesting thing that we are again discussing. Sorry. Again, at the moment we are discussing in Europe now with the upcoming communication on the European data space is the exchange of data on the platforms of the private sector between each other, right? And you, of course, you have on your platform, I don't know if you have it online, precisely these trajectories of everybody who's using your platform. The other provider, I don't know what the client will be using standing on the side of the road, will be using another platform eventually. But what we want for the application is that the two trajectories are being matched up so they can actually do the Tinder part. So that's going to be quite a challenge, and that will require an openness from you and from everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, there
No,
is
that's,
another comment there.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Thinking out of the box.
yeah, sure.
Less thinking out of the box, I'm afraid, but maybe easier to respond to. So Peter Parslow from Ordnance Survey in UK, and my question comments a little bit like Alex's at the front in a way. So you talked there about an open address data set from somewhere which was not so useful because it was a couple of years out of date. We're the national people who pull together the address data set for Great Britain. It's a co-production between about 350 public authorities who have all those responsibilities. And as Alex said, for transport data, it costs money to do that. But it does allow that we currently are putting it out up to date every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks there are a couple of thousand changes in it. We could put it out more often if money was available to plough back into the production system to put it out more often. So during this value chain, you take that and you make use of it that then benefits people further down the line. The model is often applauded around here that all the money should come in from the taxpayer up front and then allow all the private sector companies and other beneficiaries along the way just to make money from it. I would challenge that and ask how the money can go back in from the place where money is made in the whole system. So the beneficiary pays for the management of the data. I don't know how easy to do that. There's sort of value chain analysis through the data value chain to work out who's gaining most from it and therefore how do they contribute, and it is probably a micro payment thing and so on as well. But is it something you've thought about at all, or are you building this on the assumption that all that data is going to be available to you openly licensed, and you, as you said, you wish it all was?
Yeah, first of all, I would say we as a company, we are also paying taxes. I know.
Better than some companies.
Yeah, yeah. And giving this back. And also, you do not have only to think at big companies like us. So this data is also valuable for a lot of new business models. And I think this is a point to really to make use of something which is already available. So like address data, it has to be done by you. So it's more or less yeah, either you sell it, and then only a few companies can benefit from it. Only big companies. When you give it for free, maybe open up it more.
Get into more complex licenses where it depends how much you're using it. First 1,000 hits a month are free or some whatever model you come up with.
Can you speak in the microphone, both of you?
Sorry.
Sessions are being recorded.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Sessions
so
are very interesting, so
the other, which was talked about in this room before lunch, is freemium models where small companies do get it for free because it's perhaps a metered usage that I just, 1,000 users a month is free, but once your business is bigger than that, then you do have to contribute to the ecosystem. But I do take the point that good companies pay taxes into the country where they're operating, and that's,
We are European, so.
Okay. If you have other questions, please save them, because I have now to go to the next speaker, which is Matthias.
It's not open.
Matthias Bramme, and we speak about Inspire Web Services for maritime affairs in Germany. So we go from transport network to water
Set.
networks.
Yes. Oh, come on. Okay, can you hear me? My name is Matthias Bramme. I'm an engineer of geoinformatics, and I'm working at the Maritime and Hydrographic Agency of Germany in Hamburg. I would like to explain a bit about Inspire Web Services for maritime affairs in Germany concerning two transport networks. Here's the agenda. I would like to introduce with some words about the BSH, the Federal Maritime and Hydrographic Agency. Then I will come to the relevant Inspire themes. After that, I will go to the implementation details about the theme Water Transport Networks. After that, I will explain a bit our problems, so the perspective of the data provider and the difficulties. And finally, I will give an outlook. Well, the BSH has a lot of exercise. For example, the storm tide warnings, the production and publication of official nautical charts and nautical publications. So a big area is also the marine spatial planning. So we are responsible for improvement or disapprovement of offshore wind farms in the exclusive economic zone of the North Sea or Baltic Sea. We have an own fleet to take surveying in North Sea and Baltic Sea. Yes. What are the customers of the BSH? We have, for example, the shipping and other industries from maritime affairs, the Navy, we have the coasters, and you could say they are all people involved who need data and information about the sea. So which is the economy, the science, the public service, the politics, that can be the communication media, or the publicity. Here on this slide, I would show you our central access point to our called GDI BSH or GOC portal. We have a marine spatial data infrastructure, and this is the central point. If you type www.gocportal.de, then you get access to our spatial data of BSH. And what you can see here now is, for example, the marine spatial planning in the EEZ. So the red areas are the offshore wind park areas, or the blue ones that are the traffic separation scheme separators, or the cables. You can see anything. Okay, what are the relevant Inspire themes for our agency? Well, they are a lot. We have worked in the transport networks theme. We have worked at the maritime units. But also we have in Annex 2 the elevation and the geology. And in Annex 3 was very important is very the oceanographic geographical features, or the sea regions, but the theme oceanographic geographical features is not fully implemented in the application scheme model. I think you know that, perhaps. What I would like to show here is the architecture of our marine spatial data infrastructure. So on the left side you can see the LAN, in the middle you see our demilitarized zone, and on the right side you can see the internet. So we get the data from different sections in our agency, and they put it on a data storage. We pull that into FME desktop and transform it with FME desktop and FME server to the Inspire application schemes. After that, we get the GML data directly, so we transform it directly into the GML data and use it via Degree web services. And then the customer can get the access by using our GOC portal or directly by using the web service URL. Okay, now I come to the implementation details of the water transport networks. So we have used FME, and what you can see now here on the left side is the source data in IHO S57. That's the electronic nautical charts which we used. And on the FME workbench, well, you can see the transformation with different transformers by using the Inspire solution pack of the company Conterra. And after that, you get the Inspire data, the transformation. So that's the full workbench. I know you you know that, perhaps. And here's a picture of the Gml Dataset. Well, okay. You can see in our GOC portal the view service, and you can also get access to our download service. But here I will mention that they are not fully Inspire compliant. Yeah. Okay. What we did here was we combined the dataset of the Dutch region together with the German transport networks. So we put both Inspire view service into the GOC portal, and you can see it fits very well. Okay, we have problems and difficulties because perhaps, for example, in Annex 3, the themes oceanographic geographical features are not fully implemented in the application scheme, and we think there is too less software for interpretation of the application scheme. So how can we work better with GML data? I know Quantum GIS, but I think to work with ArcGIS or other clients, it's very, I would say, hard to work with GML. And we think that there's missing coordination between different EU authorities. So, for example, we have to provide a lot of oceanographic data in different projects, which are sponsored from the EU, like EMODNet or Sea Data Cloud or Copernicus. But you also have to provide Inspire web services. And the question is, how can we link and inspire with other projects? Yeah. So finally, we will publicate the web services in time. I hope so. And we will also provide some support for the federal states in Germany in the project like Marine Data Spatial Infrastructure of Germany, to support also the e-reporting. So the Marine Strategy Framework Directive is also an important exercise to fulfill. And, well, we have also the intention of supporting them. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthias.
That's also one of the ships of BSH, the Comet. So we have 5 ships. Okay.
Nice. I will open the floor to the questions. Do you have any? Hugo?
Thank you. Well, you know that the German, the MSDI, is one of our favorite projects since a couple of years. And the pilot that we then did with Denmark and the Netherlands, so for this portrayal, for us was very important. But you mentioned in the issues, the problems that you had, you mentioned EMODnet, you mentioned Copernicus. Now these are 2 initiatives which are theoretically 100% committed to providing access to their data through Inspire services. But they are also facing the same problems, of course, in terms of transformation, putting up the services. Now for both of those initiatives, there is a user platform, there's a user forum, etc. And for us and also for them, it's extremely important that these type of flagship projects like the MSDI interact with them to show what is needed so that you can build this type of applications.
Yeah.
And then my question actually relates to what is now the benefit for you of Inspire for implementing this system?
I think nowadays we have no benefit for implementing of Inspire because we don't know who uses our services and what is the use case for our services. Yeah.
That's frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because the content of the services is, in our view, a bit too less. So, yeah.
So you cannot say anything about who is using this this service. I mean, when
No.
Okay. Not even within public administration. I mean, in the public sector, maybe in the other administrations are using your service, or is this
We
the
have
case?
other services which provides the same data but in more detail, like the electronic nautical charts. Yeah, they have more details, and we use it in our agency. But so an Inspire view service with the shipping ways, we don't know who uses them. That.
Just a little for my clarification, could
Yeah.
that be due to what you mentioned there about GML and the difficulties in other packages to work with it?
Pardon?
You mentioned that JML and consumption in QGIS and in others is still an issue. Is it related, do you think? That people cannot consume?
I think so. I have worked in the other projects like CDataNet, Copernicus, and I've seen they have another approach, but they want, I think the same way like in Inspire, they want harmonized and interoperable data, but they do it on the central way and not on the decentralized way. Yeah? And they do it by harmonize the format and not the services. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Do you
you.
have other remarks from the audience? No, then thank you, Matthias. And I will now welcome Stephen from TomTom to deliver his presentation on the TNITS platform, which was already introduced by Christian before. I think you have to...
Where is mine? Okay, maybe I can already announce
Yes.
that I'm here not on behalf of TomTom,
Yeah.
but on behalf of TNITS, which is an association set up by ETICO, so the European ITS organization. So I'm not wearing my TomTom hat today. Nevertheless, I can respond as a TomTom person after, if needed. Thank you, Maria Teresa.
You're welcome.
So, as I said, TNITS is a platform with members, and the vision of the platform is to bring fresher map data to intelligent transportation services. So not systems, but services. The mission, facilitate and foster the exchange of ITS-related spatial road data between road authorities and trusted data as trusted data providers and data users as map makers and other parties. Sorry, I had to read it out because I don't want to leave any word behind. We argued a lot on the exact vision and mission, so it doesn't come out very naturally. What it does mean, and I underlined that, map makers as the main data users today of the access to road data from governments, consider this as trusted data. Indeed, map makers collect probe data from navigation devices and cell phones and numerous other sources. Map makers drive around with mobile mapping systems. They collect data, but to have trusted information coming to map makers is very important. And why is this important? Well, we are facing an enormous challenge with congestion on the road, with impact on the environment, and so on and so on. So also on safety is an important topic, and you will, in the following slides, you will see that there's a lot of emphasis on speed limit information and the exchange of speed limit data, which originates from a change done by an authority to a ITS service at the end. There's a lot of pressure to have correct and complete and whatsoever speed limit information in vehicles today. Map makers get requirements from the car industry, and today the requirements, for example, for freshness of speed limit data on the motorway is like on something between 1 and 6 days. So within a week, a change in reality should find its way not only to the map maker, but actually to the car and the user that has that information at, you know, or the car that can use it. So not the driver of the car. So for, I would say, national roads, that timing is around 14 days, and for local roads it's around 30 days. So map makers have an enormous challenge to meet those requirements, and we need, well, map makers need any source of trusted data they can get. So sorry for the long introduction. TNITS, as I said, is a platform that is addressing this data chain between road authorities and the ITS systems. You see the map makers in between. Here is where TNITS plays a role. It's the interface between the road authorities and the map makers. It's a technical interface, I must say. There is also a part, so the TNITS association brings together the stakeholders, so there's also a discussion and coordination going on, but the important aspect is the standardization of the interface. We are looking, and Christian indicated that, we are looking at change information. Map makers in general are not that concerned about bulk data provisions. Why? Because then the map maker has to do the delta, you know, so they have to compare data themselves. So map makers are interested in receiving changes of information, and that's exactly what is happening in the pilots and also the operational services today. I mentioned this, it brings together the stakeholders, so that's authorities, road operators in Europe, map makers, and also the European policy makers. Ideas to share effectively changes on road data and ensure a seamless data chain. Here's a bit the storyboard, so what happened with TNITS. It was founded in 2013. And it continued on earlier research projects like ROSAT we had which prototyped or piloted this exchange infrastructure in a number of countries in Europe. We had a very important project, transportation project with GRC and ULF, which led to operational data provision services in Norway and Sweden, cross-border. In 2016-17, so ongoing now, we have a CEF pilot, which is ongoing. We already have a number of services up and running in Ireland, UK, Belgium, so in Flanders. MOV is involved there. We have services in Finland, and also IGN is setting up a service in France. So they're exposing road data. Speed limits, top priority, then traffic restrictions, bridge clearances, logistic type of information to support the ITS services. Very recently, 2017, this year, a standardization activity by CEN started, kicked off, and they're going to take the specifications which were drafted already quite some years ago, and they're going to mature them and bring them and label them as an official CEN standard and offer that, I hope, in 2018, these standardization activities should have been, will be concluded. And then very recently, we submitted a project proposal in the CEF, a recent CEF call. We were able to collect or to get together 9 additional member states that will set up pilot services. Again, road administrations and road operators. So the new ones are Netherlands, Hungary, Cyprus, Slovenia, Greece, Estonia, Latvia, Portugal, Spain, DGT. Okay. So, of course, I cannot comment on the success, whether the proposal will be funded by the Commission. We have high hopes, and it will boost the exposure of road data even more in Europe. So I mentioned standardization and implementation support. These are the members. There are a number of, so it's a paying member association. So we have a number of members. We have the map makers on board, TomTom and here. We have a number of research groups like Fraunhofer and University of Stuttgart supporting that, and of course in collaboration with the European initiatives. So what I can say, when the data is exposed and published, as is very successfully being done in Scandinavia, the map makers will reuse it. And I have on the left a picture of TomTom showing the changes showing where the data reflecting the changes is situated. The color codes I did not express, but these are like speed limits, bridge clearances, and so on. On the right-hand side, you see a dashboard by here with a bit older data than what Christian has showed us. Nevertheless, they keep track, I think, on a weekly basis of which data is exposed on web services at the site of the road authorities. So, if it's there, if it's open, then we will, well, the map makers will reuse that information. I can now say of the pilots that are now running and the services that are now operational, about 80% of those road administration are offering the data as open data under, I would say, under good terms and conditions, meaning not share alike, giving the right to reuse it and so on, and giving it a perpetual terms as well. So it allows commercial reuse of that information, very important. So it's already an indication that also from the road authority side, there is an awareness, and well, it's not surprisingly when you look at the picture where that awareness is really very strong. It's in Scandinavia. They have this vision. If we expose the data that we own, that we change, and it can be reused, it will benefit not only those who are using the data, but finally also the end user, the people using the services. I indicated the proposal that we submitted recently. let me see. It does, well, it's maybe important to emphasize, and just to connect to the questions that we had before, the feedback loop. So the loop from the map makers back to those who are providing the data is going to get more meat to the bone, so to speak. Now, the specification simply says, okay, the map makers has received the data, so much data, and these quantities, and this is what we've done with it. We integrated it or we rejected it. And we need, well, this project will help us to give more granularity, so when it was rejected, why it was rejected, and so on. One of the requests from the Commission was also to extend the interface to support more use cases. And I'm thinking of the domain of automated driving and multimodal services, not for people but for goods. We hope that it will be a 4-year project. So these are the partners that are involved. I summed them up more or less. All the colored one except for the gray. Then within a few years we'll have these services up and running. That's basically it. So I thank you for your attention.
I would like to know what is the consistency between the INSPIRE raw data specifications and TNITS specifications?
Very good question. Part of the consistency is already in the name. TN is Transport Network. Well, no. The idea is that we have looked into the specifications that are out there from INSPIRE, and we have, well, in the early stage we have aligned them. So the transportation network, as it is defined now, is similar. I will not say identical, but it is very similar to the INSPIRE specification. But it's much more. It's focusing, and I should have stressed that more, it's focusing on exchanging changes in data. Individual, oh, maybe I have a backup slide here. It's to anticipate to the question. Here is an update for a specific speed limit on a road. And that's the type of information the users of TNITS data are interested in. So I'm not going to read the XML. On the right-hand side, it says it's a safety feature. It has some location reference. It's about the modification. The origin is regulation, change in regulation, then another location reference. It's about the speed limit, and the new value is 70. And if you receive as a data user, you receive this XML data, you decode it, you decode the location reference. Here you go, you have the extent, and you just update your map database with that attribute. So that is the focus. So it's not about geographies or full tiles of information. It's really focusing to, well, I would say the change. And you can aggregate individual changes like this one into more aggregated data sets and expose those. And this is what actually happens. So the top line already discloses who provides the data. It's the Swedish Trafikverket. But you can find similar services on the Finnish, the Norwegian, the French, and so on, providers today.
Thank you. There's Hugo there.
Yes, thank you, Stefan. That's very interesting, very much indeed. And you mentioned at a certain moment that about 80% of the data that you now need is available as open data.
Right.
At the same time, we are now thinking about the issues around reverse PSI.
Mm-hmm.
So actually making use of your TomTom data, etc., for public purposes. Now, recently, somebody from the Flemish Environment Agency made me the remark, we would like to use the traffic density information from flows such as TomTom for our health-related activities, both noise and air quality. I said, well, that's no problem. I'm having it in my on my mobile now. And he says, well, you know, it's not that easy because it's very expensive to get this type of information from these type of private providers, either telecom or I don't know what. What is your view on this? That's question one. The second question, probably more simple. You mentioned CEF. For many years now, I've been trying to get Inspire more into CEF. The Connecting Europe facility with its 30 billion euro, etc., could be a great leverage to implementing Inspire. How much of Inspire is in your CEF proposal? Thank you.
Okay, well, let's try to answer the first question strategically. And I have seen, because I've been working in the ITS domain for quite some years, I have seen a change in attitude, both from the government as the private map makers, and they're closing in. And I see already that, some cooperation that private data is exposed to and reused by governments, probably not under commercial terms or under mild commercial terms. The big risk from the perspective of the map maker is that, of course, the government, when they purchase data and want to expose that as open data, there is an issue that there is, a domain of the commercial aspect for the map maker which is eroding. But as I said in the beginning, there is a trend. The parties are getting together and around the table. In foreseeable future, I would say that these there will be ships sailing between the two parties. The second question, please remind me on the.
How much of Inspire is in
yeah.
the CEF proposal?
Well, let me answer. An honest answer. If you look at the second line, in the proposal it's consistent. In the CEF it is marginal. So in the proposal it is consistent in the sense that, as I said before, we have aligned as much as possible the specification of the data exchange and the data exchange infrastructure, so the web services. But as we position ourselves more in the change area of Inspire, I would not say that Inspire is included in the CEF proposal. No.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other comment? No? I have one. The TNITS is a very nice cooperation framework between public and private sector. Can you say something about the difficulties to talk between these two words? I was involved in the first pilot, but then you went on with the CEF, with the first CEF project with the additional member states. Was it easy to talk with the new organizations? What were your experience in that?
Okay, so you're referring to the green ones. That
Yes,
yeah. It was not easy to scout and to find the correct entry points, to talk to the right people of the road administrations. And you see there are quite significant gaps. We wish to have had the German and the Italian representative of road administrations on board, but due to the structure and the different responsibilities between, in Germany with the Bundesländer, in Italy with the provinces, the owners of speed limit data and road data is at that level. So on a federal level, it's very difficult to find, well, you can find parties who wish to cooperate, but they don't own the data. And there is an issue internally in each country that there is no federal representative in a number of them. So you will see in quite a number of countries that signed up, the structure, the administrative structure is lighter. Like in the Netherlands, there is no discussion. Rijkswaterstaat owns the data that they will expose. The same is true for, I think, for many other those that signed up. So, and that's touching the problematic aspect to continue our platform. There will be, and there are some countries that are hard to reach on a federal level, which makes it very difficult for our organization and the map makers also. They need to get in touch with each individual authority which has access to the data. So it was hard to identify the good people. And then also, because of involvement of many road administration in Inspire, we had issues to convince those to, step up and do a bit more extra and get involved in TNITS. So we had to have reactions from some that say, well, we are already doing Expire and we are implementation. We are fully booked and we cannot do this additional. We don't have the resources, and even if we would get funding from the Commission, we would not be in a position to easily hire people and do that. So there are also some practical
Even
hurdles.
if actually that could be also a way to leverage the initial investment in Inspire for another domain. So, yeah, it's difficult to. Okay, thank you very much. And now I will give the floor to Zoran Dubke. He will speak about the transformation of transport network data from Thuringia. Yeah.
Sorry.
Service
I just
information.
have to find my presentation.
Yeah. It's in the folder. Which is open.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Hello everyone, my name is Zoran Dubke. I work for Conterra in Germany. It's a service and solution provider, which also, or at least what I do there, is mainly working in data harmonization projects. So what I do is I map customer data into the Inspire data models. We also have a product for this, the Inspire Solution Pack for FME. And today I'm going to talk about a project that we did with the surveying authority in Thuringia. It's one of the German federal states. So why is this? Sorry. So what I'm going to talk about is first the project workflow in general. Then, yeah, shortly, this is.
I think you.
Is there some automatic?
You should click on this.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, this project was kind of special for us because during we did the mapping, there was so we were working with the German. No, it's still still doing this. So.
Yeah, maybe you have.
Okay, I think I didn't do that. But, okay. Can I get rid of this somehow?
Maybe you did it already. I don't know. Utiliser. Ah, les minutages, ok. Annulé. Merci pour le français. Ok. And then
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, because we did this mapping on data that is provided for all the German federal states, or that is used in the same standard by all the German federal states. There's a standard, and there was an existing mapping from Excel to Inspire that was also provided by the German Working Committee of the Surveying Authorities. But during we were working on this, the mapping changed from an Excel mapping to a Hail mapping, which was conducted by vTransform. And so basically what we did was rebuilding the solution with FME Desktop. Yeah, and that's what I'm going to present, what we did. So this was for the State Office of Survey and Geoinformation in Thuringia. It's an ongoing project, so we just start with the transport networks because we thought it's the toughest theme of all. Yeah, and as it is a data harmonization project, I'm briefly going through the general workflow that we usually use here. So normally you have the existing data sets in an internal data management system with applications on top of that and the internal data models. And then you have to go to the Inspire data storage to provide Inspire services on top of this. And in this case, I think in Thuringia, they used Degree to provide the web services. And for the mapping, for the transformation, we used FME with the Inspire Solution Pack, which is an extension that supports customer building these mapping workspaces. Okay. Yeah, so as there are different working packages in an Inspire project, we focus on the model transformation here and on the schema mapping, also on the data translation and conversation, and all the other things will probably come later. There's also planning for doing things with automatization and building in additional quality controls, but in the moment we are more in the stage of the transformation and then the schema mapping. So the Inspire Solution Pack basically provides you with predefined mapping templates that you can use, so that depending on the complexity of the source model, you only have to do a smaller part of the mapping. So we have additional transformers in the FME workbench that have the code lists built in for Inspire, that have reoccurring attributes built in, and these kind of things. Okay, I don't think we have to go to this. Yeah. So the source model was the German NIS format, as I already mentioned. There's basically the NIS standard is used for all surveying data in Germany. It's quite a huge schema. I think it's even complexer than all the Inspire schemas together, I would say. There's hundreds of feature types, and yeah, it's quite complex. And the target model is of course the Inspire Transport Network themes. We mapped all 5 application schemas. And as I said, there's a reference mapping already provided. So in this case, it was kind of easy for us. Normally, we start and do the model transformation as well, and we do the alignment, and we see with the customers how to align the data with the source data. In this case, first we started with a version that was an Excel mapping table. It was kind of hard to use, but thankfully during the project, there was also an updated version, which was the executable mapping that Thorsten also presented. That was produced using Hail. So what we did then, using this Hail mapping, we made an implementation with FME and the Inspire Solution Pack. One thing that made this a bit more difficult was that also the implementation, the tail was changing at that time, so that there was kind of a difficulty to follow the changes in this. And you might wonder why our users decided to do this and not just simply use the Hail transformation. So they are a long-time user of FME and desktop and server, and they have both solutions in their processing environment. And so, of course, they wanted to use the capabilities for automation, and they can build in different quality checks that they have been using for a long time. And so, of course, they wanted to stick to this solution. So I cannot see this here very well, but yeah, now I just have a few screenshots from the Hail project and also the corresponding Inspire workbenches in FME. I think I'm not going into too much detail here.
3 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, I will be fine with that. So basically, here you see the alignment of the feature types. Then you have the alignment of the attributes, and then you also have sometimes some scripts that you have to consider, where like the networks are collected and different mappings are carried out in some scripting. And then we transported this into FME workbenches. So this is probably the simplest example. This is the cable transport network, but we also did the same for the road transport network. This goes down a bit more. You can't see everything here, but yeah, I mean, in terms of complexity, I think there's not a big difference in between the Hail mapping and the FME mapping. It's just a different way of displaying the same thing, I guess. Yeah, also the results should be equivalent if we didn't do any mistakes, I guess. No, but it's very easy to verify, of course. The only difference that's maybe it's that in FME we don't have to do any scripting. And the other thing that is different is that we limited the FME workspaces to the feature types that are actually used at our user or at our customer, because in the NAS model it's common that not all the federal states have the same feature types, and they are not in all the models. So we only map the data that they actually had in their database. Yeah, I mean, that's already the conclusion. So it was very easy to implement with thanks to the executable mapping that we had available. So the whole project so far was conducted in a few days. We thought that would take longer. We will also do this for all the other Annex 1 themes. Yeah, the main challenge was probably the changes in the mapping or in the alignment during the implementation. Yeah, and what's up on the road is to put this on FME server to automate it, and also to build in some additional quality checks. Okay, I think that was it already. So
Thank you.
hope this was.
Thank you, Zoran, for saving us also a bit of time. Do you have any comment from the audience or question? Yes?
Hello. You talk about the quality check. What kind of quality check do you mean?
I mean, it can be different types of quality checks, like if data is complete, if like geometric networks are connected, if I mean, yeah, anything you can imagine. We still have to implement this or to define these quality checks with the customer that we want to build in. I'm not talking about like the Inspire validation type of things. It's more like really also checking the source data that comes in and these kind of things.
Okay. Any other? If not, we'll pass straight to Antonio Rodriguez. Thank you, Zoran.
Okay, thank you.
From the National Geographic Institute of Spain. I will
Escape. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. We are going to speak a little bit about our experience on the transformation of our data to fulfill the transport network INSPIRE specification in the past years. I'm here speaking on behalf of Alicia González, who is really the actual leader of the project, but unfortunately, I'm sorry, she has not been able to be here to attend this conference. Okay, we are going to make a brief introduction to express the idea of geographic reference information, fundamental geographic data. At the end, we are working on to speak about the transport networks dataset of IGN Spain, to speak how we built a data model INSPIRE compliant and compliant with the national requirements, and then I'm going to give you some figures and data about data production planning and the state of the play. Okay. How has IGN Spain worked to provide ISPIRE compliant transport network data? Well, we have followed quite a long way. First of all, to identify the IGN datasets containing some part of transport network data, which been distributed among several datasets. Then we have mapped those datasets to the data model, to the ISPIRE data model. It's necessary to say that any national dataset isolated by itself has the complete information demanded by ISPIRE specification, and some national datasets contains more information than the features considered by ISPIRE. So it was necessary to reorganize all the information. At the end, we are trying to provide only the data mapped according to the ISPIRE schema via download services and, of course, viewing services. So the objectives were to generate a transport network database ISPIRE compliant, considering the transport network national datasets requirements. Taking in mind that any transport network data in these products, in national products, shall be derived in future for the transport network dataset. And it should be as much accurate and updated as possible. So, very briefly, the process of defining this data model can be described in 4 main phases. First of all, to analyze all the IGN datasets, data models, containing some transport network information. We have Cartocidad and Street and Road Map, and our topography database at the scale 25,000 and 100,000. Also, to study the exchange data models between the IGNs and the regional mapping agencies we are collaborating with, and also other relevant transport network models, for example, in our Ministry of Public Works. At the end, we have a list of the feature attributes and association required in Spain, national requirements. In a second phase, we have analyzed the mappings between this information and the ISPIRE requirements. In a third phase, we have created an ISPIRE compliant application schema, and last, we have produced the data and we have documented the new product conforming ISO 19131. Okay, now let's speak a little bit about the data production planning and the state of the play. Okay, we're moving in 2 main steps regarding data production. First of all, we're trying to produce a first version of the Spanish dataset transport network for ISPIRE, just using existing data without any updating, just dealing with the model, formats, specification, and so on. And then, in a second step, we're going to update this first version, improving the accuracy as much as possible. The first version of this database has been produced in the period 2015-2016, then 2 years of work. It's not an easy task. Integrating all this described information in a single database ISPIRE compliant. The challenge is to produce a transport network data for the whole Spain, using data at the scale of 25,000 in rural areas and 1 to 1,000 or 2,000 in cities, depending on the city. Near 1 meter accuracy in cities, and more or less 3 meters in rural areas. So we're dealing with 4 modes of transport: waterway, railway, roads, and cable. Very recently, in June this year, 2017, at least we have the data available on the web via web services and downloading as file shapes in our download center. In the URL you can see in this slide. These data are defined as open data, and there are licenses compatible with Creative Commons Attribution 4.0. Okay. Here you can see some figures about all the information we have produced. More than 20,000 rows, more than 9 million of row links, more than 11 million of house numbers and road milestone, and so on. It's quite a big data set. Here you see, you can see an example. See the result of the integration, where in different color the different mode of transport are fully connected: railway, roads, railway and roads, and so on. Okay. The data is available by provinces. By the other hand, is also available by transport network modes. So you can download all the information only in 4 steps. And also a road catalog is provided to have a full list of all the roads in Spain. Is the first time, as far as I know, we have in Spain only catalog with all the roads identified. See, here you can see an example of the area of Seville. Okay. And also we are publishing these services like WMS service, WMTS services, also a web feature service, and we are developing an Atom service for develop all the data. Of course, we have metadata in a catalog, and all the services are fully Spire compliant. Okay, we can see a little example of a crossroad. An airport, I think it's Barajas, Madrid. And also you can see some examples of all the complexity of the road network. Here you can see a crossroad at different scales in the viewing service, and at last the autophoto showing more or less the real world. Okay, the download service is planned to be on the web on December this year, and you can see the address on the WFS Inspire, which now allows to download the network model. Here you can see the features available in the web feature service, in the road transport network, in the air transport network, in the water transport network, and in the railway transport network. Okay, so the IGN Transport Network version 1 is available now. Next steps are to finish Inspire Web Services implementation with Atom service, and to update this Transport Network producing Geographic Reference Information version 2, updating all the information and increasing the accuracy to produce an RMS less than 1 meter. Our plans are to begin to updating continuously this information, and we think we are able to produce one version each 2 years, and we need in future to reduce this frequency to produce one version a year. And the main technology to use will be mobile mapping technology. We need to invest to research also in volunteer geographic information in order to get advantage of these resources, but now we have not a clear process or taking those data on board. So, as conclusion, we can say that to be Spire compliant does not imply new production data always. I mean, it's more important sometimes to use Spire as a trigger to rethink the traditional production methodologies and to reorganize different data sets, to be more efficient and do not duplicate data capture, to reuse data, and at the end to provide the data and services that users require currently: continuous, accurate, standardized, and updated transport network data. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You did perfectly on time, I must say. Do you have any question from the floor? Yes, there.
Yes, what were the financial resources and human resources involved in the project?
Oh, it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult to say that. Well, our department is composed by I think 5 engineers, and also we have subcontracting works to private companies. So it's quite difficult to evaluate now the whole human resources invested during these 2 years. Yes, it's okay. It's not easy. Thank you.
Someone else? Yes.
To make this transformation, did you make an extension of the data specification to put all your information inside it?
No, our model fits perfectly Inspire specification. We have not extended Inspire model. No.
You spoke with more enthusiasm. So, do you see benefits for your data set? So, you said all transport modes are interconnected. Do you see benefits contrary to the water transport network of the Germans?
I don't understand very well. Are you asking what are the benefits of having all the modes connected?
Indeed. Do you see benefits for your data set and user use?
Well, first of all, there is a quality side effect. I mean, the quality improves a lot if you connect all your modes of transport. And also, of course, the data are prepared to answer questions of short way and so on using different modes of transport. It's obvious.
Yes, so the benefits are obvious.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There were a couple more of hands on, I think. No? Hugo, please.
It's actually a question both to you and to the colleagues from here and Tom. What do you think about this effort? Is that going to be useful for you?
Well, I think it's a. Thank you very much for the question. I think it's a very good point. I will very happy if you can have a room and some hours to discuss about some kind of agreement and not duplicate the effort. For us, will be perfect.
Stephen, do you want to add something?
The fact that I took 3 pictures, I think, gives the answer. We are very interested in this download service, and there are many reasons to do that. One is immediate, is to do lead detection, to check where our geometry deviates from the national geographic information database. So there's a lot of information. So not only reusing their data, but just for lead detection is very important.
But also from the TNITS perspective, Spain is one of your future collaborators, no? Will you use this data? Are you connected with the EGN or with... It's with DGT. Ah, okay, so maybe there is something to do there to connect both administrations in Spain.
Maybe can you confirm if DGT is going to reuse your data?
Yes, I think so. Well, the data are open data, and you can download it. It's not an Atom service now, but you can download it in our download center without any problem.
Christian, will you?
I have nothing to add to Stefan's comment. I also took some pictures, and yeah, we are using this web feature download service a lot.
Okay.
Maybe just a final question for me, from my side. You mentioned that there were other transport network models from other administration level from the country. Will they now use your database, or will they continue to use their?
Well, the situation is quite different in the 17 autonomous regions of Spain. Some of them are collaborating, in fact, in this project. So, for example, the data from Valencia has been generated in collaboration with the regional mapping agency of Valencia. But in another case, no, there are their own transport network database. But our objective is to collaborate with the maximum number of public authorities of Spain. And in an ideally Spain, this data set will be produced by AGN in collaboration with all the regional mapping agencies, of course.
Thank you. An impressive work and the best practice for sure.
Okay.
If there are not questions, then I will close the session. I thank all the speakers for their interesting presentation. And please, I invite you to go to the plenary that is starting basically now.
Okay, thank you.